now with Matthew Nordgren, the CEO of Arcadian. Matthew, welcome to SmallCapPower.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Give us an introduction to the company.
Oh, sure. Arcadian Fund, an Arcadian platform, really. We have a capital business, but the fund is really set up to try to provide exposure to institutional-like investors who don't necessarily have the risk for plant-touching investments in this space, to give them a platform to invest that really has a private equity-like mentality, trying to find market leaders with real revenue and managing that experience.
So when you go scouting for these assets, these talent, what do you look for?
Really looking for market leaders. I mean, we want people to have real revenue, get to the back of the business plan right out of the gates and see what the revenues are and make sure there's something there, because that's really where we can be helpful. And then ultimately looking for someone who's been proven to have success in what they're doing before cannabis. You know, we want some experienced business leaders, and then ultimately we try to find out who can execute, because a lot of people have the same idea, and I think ultimately it's going to come down to execution.
What do you make of this, dialogue that there are heavy valuations, billion-dollar valuations, but these companies are not making profits? What do you make of that?
It's like any emerging industry. I mean, you have a lot of pie in the sky that drives it. .com, internet, I mean, they always kind of look similar. Markets always figure themselves out, and they will. Fortunately for us, we invest in the private side. We try to find A and B round opportunities, preferred shares. So, we just try to give our companies the best advice possible so they don't take a bad public route. But the public markets are there for a reason, and they'll figure themselves out, and they'll help this industry grow. So I think in general, the valuations are right, but I think they're a little overvalued today, and they'll blend out and be just fine.
Which spaces of the cannabis industry do you see doing well once legalization kicks in Canada? Cultivators, extractors?
Yeah, I think all those guys are going to do good. I think that there's going to be a certain amount at the very top. I think it's going to be really hard to compete eventually with some of the bigger players. And then I think what will drive the industry future will be the IP. I mean, technology, this is a technology industry, it's just a science technology, it's a plant technology, it's bioscience. So I think people that are really understanding what new formulas are out there and how they can affect the human body in different ways are going to be the ones that ultimately drive brands, which brands I think, like everybody talks about today, are going to be the next big wave, but I think it's kind of driven by IP.
Excellent. And where do you see this market going, and how big do you see it growing?
I think the Canadian market's great. I think the advantage is it's been first mover. Relative to other opportunities around the world, it's a pretty small market. I think what is good for October 17th in the long term, maybe not the short term, is the fact that Toronto area is going to have private business. And the fact that they pushed that out 5 more months just the other day is probably a great thing for the market from an addressable market standpoint, but also gives all the people that are selling stock and promoting stock to talk about the growth and potentials versus having it realized. So I think the combination of both end up doing really good things for stocks for a while, versus if it was the way it was going to be. I think October 17th you see a lot of sell, because it's sort of like the pie in the sky is now realized and no more upside. So I think that's good for the markets. I think it's going to give Canada an opportunity to be a world leader and be a bank. It's like Switzerland or Geneva. I mean, that's how I think of Canada for cannabis.
And lastly, what can we expect from Arcadian in the next 12 months?
More of the same. We've been really doing well with our portfolio. We're trying to invest in market leaders, identify a couple in each category, start helping them prepare for exits, get them ready for consolidations, and we've got a lot more of those to do. So it's just getting really exciting.
Wonderful, Matthew. Thank you so much for those insights.
Thank you.